Hello, guys. This is Average Joe Rants here, and I'm actually going to be doing something I haven't done before and making a follow-up rant to the collective shot one I just posted recently. The reason for this is because within a few days, there's actually been some developments, and also there's some stuff I didn't address in my last rant, mainly because I didn't want the fucking thing to go over an hour. But I'm going to try to address those today for you guys, and maybe if I get this out, you guys can sort of ask these questions yourselves, come up with your own theories, answers, whatever. I'll give, of course, my opinions on why I think, things are as they are. But to start with, if you liked the video, like, comment, and subscribe, as always. And honestly, let's get right to it. So, a quick refresh for those of you who somehow don't know what's going on. An Australian group called Collective Shout recently pressured Visa and mastercard into deleting several games off of Steam and itch.io. Now, why is this a problem? Well, it's not just Australia they deleted these on. They deleted them for basically the entire world. And although some of these games were deplorable, many of them were just games that had like TNA in it, tits and ass. But most of them didn't even have nude. Like they didn't have nipples or anything. It was like there were sexy women in it, right? Obviously, this pissed off a lot of people, and of course, anybody who complains about it is labeled a pedophile or predator or whatever, despite the fact that very few of the fucking games that were on that deleted list were like that. Right, there were a few, and, good riddance, but most of them were fine. They were not even offensive at all, except for the fact that there were sexy women in it. That was it. And some of the deleted ones were also horror games, which I'm actually going to address something I didn't get wrong at the time, but has changed since then. Apparently, mouthwashing has come back online on Steam. You can buy it again and stuff like that. I think Shipwreck 64 also came back online, which that one's actually really good. So if you like analog horror, check that one out. But yeah. Let's get to the rant, right? Well, first let's ask some questions, right? And I want you guys to ask these questions yourselves. One, why Visa MasterCard did this? Two, why are they letting a group from Australia dictate what the rest of the world plays? And three, why they haven't backtracked. Let's start with question number one. Why Visa and MasterCard did this? Right? So, the reason why I personally believe Visa and MasterCard decided to do this is because I think I mentioned in the previous video Ajit Pai, who made a fucking video about the net neutrality law that was so fucking cringe. It's not even it's kind of funny. But it was filled with memes and shit that nobody really watched at that point. Like, he was talking about how you could still watch your cooking videos. Not a lot of people watched cooking videos on YouTube. Like, this is where the rise of TikTok kind of started happening. But nobody really fucking went on those videos. They would go on TikTok to watch them, but they wouldn't fucking watch them on, like, YouTube or other video sites at that point. Because, obviously, they were whole fucking recipes at that point. There wasn't YouTube Shorts. So, that didn't really matter. He started saying, like, you watch your cat videos, which, true, but that wasn't really the reason why people had a problem with net neutrality, is that they wouldn't be able to watch their cat videos. Obviously, they would still be able to. And one of the things I didn't mention, that I thought I did, but I think that was the video I deleted, was the fact that net neutrality law would basically allow internet providers to check up on your search history. So, like, Yeah. So they would, like, for the most part, I will say this much, didn't really do a goddamn thing, even when it got passed. And that's mainly because I don't think any internet provider was really willing to put so many resources towards checking their individual client's search history one by one. Right? So it basically became useless. It was repealed in 2024 mainly because, again, it was worthless. It was taking too much money to uphold. And that's about it. Anyway, now I got that out of the way. Why did MasterCard and Visa do this? I kind of got off track there, but I wanted to address a few things in the last video before I even answered my question. And here's the thing. I think the reason why they did this is because they've been waiting for a reason to do this for a while. Because I was thinking about this, and this ties into the second question. Why the fuck did they fold? This is the reason why they did this, by the way. They did it because Collective Shout called them 1,000 times. Right? And then they just deleted all the games off of Steam and itch.io after that. I think they were looking for a fucking reason to do this for a long time, but never really had support. Right? And of course, a lot of people will go, well, 400 people, that's a lot of people. Yes, it is. But it doesn't really equate to the millions of people you piss off when you do something like this. Also, keep in mind, this was Australia. Australia. Not the United States of America where this group originated. And that leads into my second question. Why the fuck did Visa MasterCard allow Collective Shout to dictate what could be on these platforms? And this leads into my little thing with the GPI. I think legitimately most executives and CEOs and all that, they're not really, excuse my age with this one, hip with the times. I'm saying, excuse my age, because nobody says fucking hip anymore. Oh, God. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I need to get a glass of water and to clear my nose. I don't know why. It's, like, hot today, so it's kind of, like... It's very heated. Humid, that was it. Anyway. What's basically my point here with, like, Collective Shout... with the second question is, like, why did they let Collective Shout dictate their actions? I think it's because CEOs and executives don't really understand what's going on with the world most of the time. How could they? They're rich, they're powerful. They don't really need to know what's going on with the world in order to do their jobs, essentially. Because most of the time, their jobs basically consist of them coming in every couple weeks, having a meeting, and, you know, and there are rare examples of CEOs and executives coming in every fucking day, regardless, but just as much as there are examples of lazy CEOs who basically coast on by and get paid like $100,000 a fucking month. Which is what I think happened here. I think the CEOs and executives of Visa and MasterCard didn't really understand that countries like the United States of America don't exactly enjoy censorship. In fact, I mentioned before how Americans from the Revolutionary War fought against that, and that was because a lot of what King George did and got the then still British colonies pissed off at him was he was censoring a lot of the shit that would go on with his soldiers and the events. Like, he tried to censor the Boston Massacre at first, and then he tried to manipulate the events of it, saying basically the colonists attacked first, and that's what led to the massacre. And then when it came to the Boston Tea Party, he didn't censor that at all, but he did make it seem like there was basically a mass murder of people. Like, basically he said that the people who dumped the tea were killed guards on their way to escape, and then he tried to tax the people for the tea, despite the fact that most of the people weren't even really there that night. Um, but yeah, that's basically the thing. There is like we, as a country, when we were still in our infancy, we weren't even born yet. Actually, we were fighting against censorship from a government that was being unfair to us. So the fact that Visa and MasterCard basically just shat on that is offensive to a lot of people, including me. I personally have never been in the military, but I do know my family has been in service since the Revolutionary War. Now, granted, the my ancestor who was in the Revolutionary War was a horse caretaker, but he was a very good one. But yeah, he's just an army horse caretaker. He made sure the horses were ready to go whenever there was a battle. Which, hey, you know what? He probably made sure those horses were able to actually do their fucking job. So I consider him personally a hero. Um. Anyway, let's get to the third question, because I already knew this is not going to be a long rant, because mostly it's me getting some stuff out of the way, asking questions for you guys to basically answer by yourselves while giving my own opinions and answers to those questions. So, third question. Why hasn't Visa MasterCard backtracked yet? And the reason I ask this question is because recently there was a thing on 4chan, which I'm surprised that's still around. I actually thought it went away. I don't know why I thought that, but I do. Yeah, I actually thought that went away for a while. I have no idea why. Um, but yeah, they did a campaign, and basically the Visa and Mastercards phones have been so gummed up, they have resorted to basically telling people, "Hey, please send us an email," instead of calling us. Can you imagine how many phone calls it? Because you have to understand, Visa and Mastercard are worldwide. It's not just Australia or United States or whatever. It is a worldwide entity. Both of them. So the fact that they've been getting so many phone calls, and this is why I brought up the 1,000 phone calls from Collective Shout, by the way. They must be getting more than 1,000, much more than 1,000, and yet they're still not backtracking on this. And here's the reason why I think. I think they've basically dug themselves into a fucking hole. And they're hoping if they duck their heads enough, that hole's going to protect them. The problem is, they're going to be in a lot of fucking legal trouble. And this is why I told you guys last video, why I pleaded for LGBT, BT plus groups and, groups like, gamers and stuff to kind of put aside their differences and get this bill passed. Because again, get the bill passed that opposes this. I did do some research on the other bill, the Screen Act. That's basically the same thing as the Online Safety Act that's going on in the UK right now, and who, by the way, recently admitted, the person who supported that bill basically admitted that yes, they are going to be monitoring adults and their internet search history. So yeah, London's basically become the V for Vendetta world. They're over there. So keep your eyes out for a man with a pair of size and a mask, who speaks in limericks and alliteration. Anyway, But yeah, it's basically the Screen Act is exactly the same thing. Because basically, the Screen Act is, you need age verification to look at pornography. Pretty simple, right? Definitions, people. What is the definition of pornography? Because depending on your definition, it could go from anywhere from full nudity to wearing a one-piece bikini, or God forbid, having your belly button out with everything else covered. That's basically, if this bill gets passed, which I doubt, if this bill gets passed, they're going to use it basically to censor anything that's not like full fucking coverage. And that's basically the reason I believe Visa and MasterCard aren't backtracking, because they've chosen their side. They chose to support censorship. Despite the fact that they probably knew that once they did so, they wouldn't just be able to backtrack. They probably thought, this is the reason why I brought up CEOs and executives, they probably thought people would applaud them for this move, right? But the only people who are applauding are Collective Shout. Not even the other people in Australia are happy about this. The only people that are happy about this is Collective Shout. So, really, they have 400 people in support of them and millions of people against them. But they can't backtrack, because then they'll show that therefore, because there's this fucking thing that they're trying to pull where they're trying to say anybody, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but they basically say like anybody who doesn't like this is a predator and a pedophile. So they can't backtrack now, because then they're going to get a bunch of fucking babies who are basically going to call them predators and pedophiles for putting these games back on itch.io and Steam. Despite the fact that their reputations are already ruined by the fact that they did this in the first place. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to actually ask you to do 2 things. Number 1, I want you to do some research on your local banks and see if they offer a debit card that doesn't use Visa or MasterCard. I know it's rare, but they exist. Trust me. There's one by me that I'm thinking about getting. And the only reason why I'm not fucking immediately doing it is because I worked in retail. And I happen to know their particular cards suck ass. Like, they're made of the cheapest ass materials. So look at your local banks. See what's going on. And if they offer a debit card with Visa and MasterCard, cancel your account with them and get an account with that local bank. Alright? I know it sucks, and I know it would be, because a lot of ATMs, they wouldn't accept the card. But by showing you're willing to do that, instead of dealing with their bullshit, being under their umbrella, I think it's going to send a message that we as a society, as Americans, are not going to deal with their bullshit. That they can't just censor shit because a bunch of Australians say they should. And they bother them with 1,000 phone calls, despite the fact they've probably gotten more than that by gamers at this point. And the second thing is related to that. For the first time ever, and possibly something that's going to get this video banned, I'm going to ask you guys to harass Visa and MasterCard. I want you guys to call them constantly. Every minute of every fucking day. And I want you guys to basically fucking make them know that we are pissed. Alright? I know that's me basically saying, hey, you should, because of course there's rules on YouTube saying you shouldn't do this. I don't give a fuck about the rules on YouTube. The rules on YouTube change with the fucking times. Okay? It's really a thing that happened where you couldn't cuss. And now they've repealed, now that's gone. So, I really couldn't give a fuck about the rules of YouTube. I doubt they really care that I'm asking to harass a multi-billion-dollar company. So yeah, no, call them and harass them. I already have. By the way, I have already done my part. That's basically why there wasn't a video yesterday. Was because I was basically doing that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. It's a short one because I don't want to just make it a 40-minute video going over the same shit. But points of interest: harass Visa and MasterCard. Cancel your account with them once you find a better alternative. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a third one. Oh. Fuck. Don't you hate that? Literally, I had all three things. Oh. Okay, no, I just remembered. Oppose the Screen Act and support the legislation that is going to prevent Visa and MasterCard from doing this shit again. Alright? That's going to be it from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please, and again, this is a plea from me personally, because I personally don't like the LGBT groups and all that, but I am willing to put aside my personal bias and hate for them to ask all of us to come together as Americans, as citizens of the world, to oppose this shit. Alright? For those of you who are basically going to say, and I've said this in the other video, basically say, hey, you know, it's doing good for the world. Well, let me put it to you this way, guys. The LGBT groups and the leftist groups and all that. In the UK, there's an Online Safety Act, and it is already censoring any sort of behavior that the government finds distasteful. Literally, videos are being taken down by the government displaying anti-migrant behavior. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the Conservative Party in the UK, the equivalent, saying they don't really want people from other countries illegally entering their borders. Doesn't that sound familiar? Oh, but you know what else they're doing? They're also censoring anything regarding trans stuff. Yeah, if you show any sort of skin or you act out, they censor the video until you provide your age. So if you really think that's not going to happen here, you're fucking insane. Especially since that kind of power would pass from president to president, and House member to House member, and representative to representative. Basically, we would have 4 years of stuff from the left being censored, then probably 4 years of stuff from the right being censored. So what I'm trying to get at here is that we all need to get together and prevent that from happening. Because I can tell you this right now, there will come a time where something gets censored so much that people don't know where the fuck to look. Then we're going to have a system where there's going to be a president of only one party. And then that party is just going to have several presidencies in a row because of the fact that the stuff from the other side was being censored, and not everybody could actually access it at that point, if this Screen Act goes through. Okay, they already tried to do SOPA. They already tried to do net neutrality. They even tried to straight up just in 2022 do a act that was basically the predecessor to this one, to basically censor anything, to basically become watchdogs on the internet. So I need you guys to put aside your bias and hatred, come together, stop this shit. Alright? Because it affects all of us. That's going to be the end of the video because I'm already going on a little more than I thought I would. If you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you think I'm a piece of shit, tell me so in the comments. You guys have a great day.